Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Klekwaswana ve Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Bedi and Glenora Shipura. How are you, Glen?
I'm doing very well. I'm glad it's a Friday. I'm looking forward to the weekend, looking forward to resting.
Yes.
What are your weekend plans?
No, it's going to be a sport-filled weekend. It's going to be athletics as well as NRU rugby, so I'll definitely have my hands full.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Now, getting into what you can expect in today's broadcast, diplomatic tensions threaten Niger-Benin pipeline project, Malawi Airlines to introduce new flights to 3 countries, and Kenyan doctors end 8-week strike after deal with the government. We'll also be talking to Mike Suchula, who will be filling us in on the latest news in Zambia. We'll be right back with your top stories.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Let's get into the top stories on Africa Good Morning. 2 weeks after the first drops of Nigerian oil gushed out at Semekrake in Benin, Beninese President Patrice Talon says Niger will not use its port to export the oil. In a statement, Talon said that Niger's logic was to blame. Benin is a member of ECOWAS. The West African bloc threatened the Nigerian junta with a military operation following a coup last July. The operation eventually didn't happen. Hit by sanctions imposed by ECOWAS, Niger closed its border with Benin. Porto Novo progressively took a softer stance on its neighbor and opened its border. Now Talon claims his country exports large quantities of staples to Niger, but because of the closed border on the Nigerian side, informal vendors profit when Beninese have to suffer a price increase. Talon accused Nigerian authorities of rejecting formal cooperation.
Malawi Airlines says it is introducing new flights to 3 countries, namely Mozambique, Rwanda, and Uganda. The company says the new routes are a sign of growth for the airline. Marketing manager for the airline, Only Taulo, told reporters that fares for the airline were quite affordable. Soon we will start operating in Kigali, Rwanda. We'll also be connecting to Nampula and Bemba in Mozambique. And towards the end of the year, we're thinking of starting operations in Uganda. We are affordable and not expensive, remarked Taulo. Commenting on the development, the Dean of the Faculty of Tourism, Hospitality and Management at Umzuzu University, Dr. Lamek Zetu Konje, told Nyasa Times that it was a good move in the right direction as far as development in tourism is concerned.
Staying with aviation, 2 Boeing 737 passenger planes have been involved in accidents in Senegal and Turkey on takeoff and landing, raising further questions about the aircraft manufacturer's safety record. In Senegal, a chartered Air Senegal Boeing B737-300 plane skidded off a runway before takeoff early yesterday at Blaise Diagne International Airport in the capital, Dakar. 85 people, including 2 pilots and 4 cabin crew, were on board the flight operated by Transair and bound for the Malian capital, Bamako. At least 10 people were injured, the Transport Ministry said. Photos showed the damaged plane at a standstill in a grassy field with a damaged wing, its emergency exit slides deployed. Videos shared on social media appeared to show a left wing on fire. The aircraft was later cordoned off with red and white tape, the Reuters news agency reported.
Swinging over to East Africa, Kenyan doctors will report to work starting Friday after they agreed with the government on how they can be paid their salary arrears. The government and the doctors' union signed a return-to-work agreement on Wednesday, a deal that will bring relief to the sick who have been unable to get treatment in public hospitals. Kenyan Health Minister Susan Nakumicha said the doctors should now focus on attending to the sick. I want to urge all of us for now to focus on service delivery, she said. The country has waited anxiously for 54 days to see you back to work, and they have a right to demand and expect to be served without further delay. The agreement comes after weeks of negotiations and court battles. The government and doctors' unions have agreed to find the best way to pay doctors better and improve their working conditions. Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Secretary General Davi Atela, who signed the agreement on behalf of more than 7,000 members, said one of their demands was not met, but they will fight for the interns.
Now, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has signed the Preventing and Combating of Hate Crimes and Hate Speech Bill into law. The legislation, which was passed by Parliament in December, addresses hate speech and hate crimes and the prosecution of people who commit these offences. The spokesperson of the President, Vincent Magwenya, said this legislative measure gives effect to South Africa's obligations in terms of the Constitution and international human rights instruments concerning racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerance by international law obligations. South Africa's Bill of Rights in Section 9 of the Constitution prohibits direct or indirect unfair discrimination against anyone based on race, gender, sex, pregnancy, marital status, ethnic or social origin, color, sexual orientation, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, language, or place of birth.
Wrapping up our top stories, the International Monetary Fund said on Wednesday it had reached a staff-level agreement with the Democratic Republic of Congo on the final review of a $1.5 billion loan program, noting the need for Congo to manage properly funds from a revised mining deal. This takes Congo one step closer to completing an IMF program for the first time. The previous agreements have been derailed by issues including a lack of transparency in its vast mining sector. Performance under the three-year program has been generally positive, with most quantitative objectives met and key reforms implemented, albeit at a slow pace.
Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we talk to Mike Sichula as he brings us the news stories from Zambia.
Hello and welcome to today's Sports Rep Show.
I am your host, Jesse Jackson Kauraika. In replay, Namibia, who had won the toss for the first time on this tour.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, starting off with tennis news, both on the WTA for women's and
It's time to cross over to the country known as the real Africa, Zambia, as we talk to Mike Sichula. Mike, Mulibwanji.
Tilibwino Mulibwanji, Africa, good morning to our dear viewers.
Tilibwino. Now, African nations have been advised by President Hakainde Hichilema to utilize raw resources to produce fertilizer, which is, of course, essential to boosting agriculture.
Yes, President Hakainde Hichilema was speaking during the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit that is underway in Nairobi, Kenya. He called for more efforts to make fertilizer available and affordable to farmers in order to increase food security. So according to Mr. Hichilema, he says African countries should not rely on others outside the commodity to supply outside the continent to supply the commodity. He said that Africa has got raw materials needed to manufacture fertilizer and should therefore invest in the venture. For your own information, Zambia has already started manufacturing its own fertilizer and is soon another company, a private-owned company, soon to establish another plant that will be manufacturing urea fertilizer in Siavonga, that is southern part of Zambia. Within here, the capital city, Lusaka, there is another, again, foreign-owned company that is manufacturing compound D. But before that, even after independence, Zambia was manufacturing its own urea fertilizer under the nitrogen chemicals, which is still running, but it just needs recapitalization. So President Hakainde Hichilema has been key on ensuring that raw materials indulged within the country are utilized within the country by setting up industries that can provide value addition to raw materials.
Now, getting into your next story, women have been advised to fight for 6 months of maternity leave as opposed to the current months.
Yeah, this has come from the Minister of the Health, Madam Silva Masewo, who said that women, the current setup of 3 months, 2 weeks is not enough for women when they go for maternity leave. Therefore, it is important for women to fight for more time, which is almost half a year for them to go on maternity leave. She was speaking at a Medical Women's International Association conference for East and African Conference in Livingstone yesterday. So she said some African countries are giving women 1 year maternity leave, and she also said the association needs to lobby for a longer maternity period because breastfeeding is vital for reducing diseases in infants, children. So, well, this has also received reactions from different members of the society who are questioning to say if it is going to be so, then women will have some employers will have difficulties to pay equal pay for women because some of them would have gone out of employment for about half a month when they are on maternity, half a year when they are on maternity. So it is something whether women will take it up or not.
All right, certainly be keeping an eye on that. Now, Mike, it seems the government has put a halt to taxes on maize imports. What's the reason behind this?
Yeah, so as you know, Zambia has been is running short of maize, which is the staple food of what we call nshima in Zambia. Here in Zimbabwe, it's called saza, and some other African countries. So Zambia doesn't have maize to produce that mealie meal, and as a result of that, the price of mealie meal has skyrocketed to above $10 per 25 kg of 25 kilogram of mealie meal. And this has put pressure because majority citizens cannot afford to spare a $10 to buy that bag. And they have been putting pressure on government to ensure that the price of mealie meal is reduced. But the price of mealie meal can only be reduced when there's excess maize on the market, which Zambia currently doesn't have. Hence, it is for this reason, Chief Government Spokesperson Cornelius Mitwa says the decision to suspend taxes was arrived at during a cabinet meeting, and this the decision is tasked to ensure that a measure, a statutory instrument is come out so that people can begin to import this maize without attracting any taxes at the border, so that when it lands in Zambia, the price of mealie meal or the price of this maize should be cheaper, so that even millers, when they buy, they should buy it cheaper, so that they should not pass on the taxes onto the consumer by hiking the price of the staple food. So it is something that has not yet yielded the desired results, but it is hoping that it will yield a cheaper mealie meal once it is in force.
Now, in the last of your stories, the athletics governing body has blamed a technical error by the coaches for Zambia's men's 4x400-meter relay team's failure to qualify for the Olympics in Paris. What were these technical errors?
According to the Zambia Athletics president, Erais Mpondera, he says the coaches should have stuck with the usual lineup where sprinter, who is Commonwealth winner in the picture there on the left, Muzala Samkonda, Samkonga should have been the finisher in the 4x400 meters. So, but because the coaches changed the lineup at the last minute, where him was not the finisher, but he came into the other position, which, according to the president of the Zambia Athletic Association, contributed to the team failing to qualify to book a place at the Paris 2024 Olympics. However, he said all hope is not lost, as the team still stands a chance to qualify, provided they still maintain the 16th position on the world relay rankings by 30th June of this year. He says Zambia are closely followed by Bahamas, and must try by all means to ensure that their sport is protected at all costs through taking part in other international competitions if possible. So this is the state of affairs from the Zambia Athletics Board. The gentleman on the right is Zambia's gold medalist at the Olympics, Samuel Matete. He won a medal some time ago during the 400 meters hurdles at the Olympics. So it is hope the Zambians are still hoping that the team can qualify to the Olympics.
Yes, we certainly hope that they can be able to achieve that. Mike, you said that there's an issue of maize in Zambia, and I was just thinking about something that I really enjoyed at my Lobola ceremony. Has this affected the production of chikanda?
Because chikanda has been affected, not because there's no maize. It is being affected because of just the climate change, where in some areas where it is being produced en masse, it is not being produced en masse. Hence, its price again has also has gone up, because finding it is becoming a challenge. Because as you know, it's the tuber, but when there's the country has not received enough rain, it is usually affected. Its availability is affected, but it's still there, but it's scarce.
Okay, so I'll certainly be praying for more rains in Zambia. Thank you very much, Mike, for bringing us the news stories.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend. Africa, good morning.
We will definitely have a beautiful weekend. Let's take a look at our weather predictions before we return with economic news.
Getting into economic news, the rift between the West and junta governments in West Africa continues to widen with each passing day. The situation with Niger and the United States reflects this growing tension. Additionally, the soured relationship between France and Mali highlights the region's frustration with Western methodologies. Very recently, the tension between the European Union and Mali reached its breaking point, with harsh decisions being made as a result. Now, according to the American news agency Reuters, the European Union disclosed its intent to pull out its military training mission from the West African country.
A former Minister of Aviation in Nigeria, Hadi Sirika, has appeared in court on corruption charges along with his daughter and son-in-law. Sirika was regarded as one of the most powerful ministers in former President Muhammadu Buhari's government. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has accused him of using his position to give undue advantage to a company linked to his daughter and son-in-law. The three pleaded not guilty to all 6 charges at the High Court in the federal capital, Abuja, and were released on bail. Now, the prosecution alleged that in August 2022, Sirika awarded a contract to a company linked to his daughter and her husband to build an extension at the airport in the northern city of Katsina.
Those have been our economic news stories. Let's head over to the indicators just before Ari brings us the sport.
Good day, everyone. Time for international sports news, and starting off with soccer news first. It is from the Champions League, and one team already in the final, and that team is Borussia Dortmund. They through to the final that's going to be played on the 1st of June in Wembley. Borussia Dortmund, they played in Paris. They played against PSG, that is Paris Saint-Germain, and it is Borussia Dortmund winning by 1-0. The aggregate score was 2-0, and it's not a good Bundesliga season so far for Borussia Dortmund. They're currently 5th in the Bundesliga, but they're through to the final of the Champions League. They will either play the fellow German side Bayern Munich and the Spanish champions Real Madrid. They still need to play a semi-final to determine who will play on the 1st of June against Borussia Dortmund. The hero for Borussia Dortmund was the defender Mats Hummels, and he scored the winner goal in Paris. And for Borussia Dortmund, they will try to win their second title. They have one Champions League title. They won that way back in 1997 when they beat Juventus by 3-1. Moving on to cycling news, it is a Giro d'Italia, one of the big cycle tours on the calendar, and it was the 4th stage, 190 kilometers. It was a sprint to the end, won by Jonathan Milan, and his time was 4 hours, 16 minutes and 3 seconds. In the sprint finished in the same time, second was Caden Groves of Australia, and third was Phil Bauhaus of Germany. In the general classification, it is still Tadej Pogačar that is leading. He's got a combined time of 15 hours, 19 minutes and 5 seconds. He's 46 seconds ahead of Gareth Thomas of Great Britain. And the 5th stage, that will be from Serra to Lucca, and that will be over 178 kilometers. And to conclude today's international sports news, it's cricket news. It is Zimbabwe currently touring Bangladesh. They played the 3rd T20 international that was in Chittagong, but it was Bangladesh winning their 3rd T20 game in a row. It is the game that was won by Bangladesh by 9 runs. Bangladesh batting first, 165 for 5. Then Zimbabwe got to 156 for 9 in their allotted 20 overs with Faraz Akram, the best contributor. He made 34 runs batting at number 10. The first ODI, the first T20, won by Bangladesh by 8 wickets. The second one won by 6 wickets. It's good preparation for Bangladesh leading up to the World Cup, the T20 World Cup that's going to be in June in the USA and the West Indies. And it is Bangladesh that will play in Group D. They will play with South Africa, also Sri Lanka, also with Nepal and the Netherlands. The 2 games that's left in the series against Zimbabwe is going to be on Friday and on Sunday. That's international sports news for today. I hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's head into the highlights from this broadcast. Diplomatic tensions threaten Niger-Benin pipeline project. Malawi Airlines to introduce new flights to 3 countries. A Boeing plane skids off runway in Senegal and tire bursts in Turkey. And Mali ends its 11-year mission with the European Union.
With that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining Africa Good Morning all week. From me, Glenora Shipura.
And me, Ashwin Bedi Surajaganaka.